Okay, welcome to the 8th video of making a WordPress Valentine's Day plugin. As always, if you want to code along with us, the link to where the current code is down at the bottom. Feel free to download it and use it to follow along. So the first thing we want to do is quickly have a look at what we'll be making. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at jQuery and how we used jQuery to create this animation. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can change the animation. So we got not only one but a few. So we've got, let's say, fading. We can change the number of hearts that we're going to use. So for example, many. So if we save that and go back, we've got more hearts and they're all fading away. So we're going to be looking at how we did this. We're using jQuery. So let's get into it. So the 5 tasks that I'm going to do to add it is we're going to be creating, or in this video we're going to be creating a function called getHeart. We're going to be, in that function, we're going to be getting the attribute from the data attribute from the HTML front end. We're going to be changing the string value from it into a number that is returned, and then we're going to be creating another function called that doesn't have a name but will be called when the document is ready. So that is how the whole thing will start, and then we'll use that, the 4th step, this function, to call the getHeart function and place the value into a variable. So these are the tasks. I just want to have a quick overview of the code that I'm going to be making. So at the moment we have the front end website, and this has a text container with another container with the heart title. What this will do is we're going to create some code in jQuery that will start once the document is ready. So there's an actual function that allows us to do that. And so once the document is ready, it'll be sent over, and then we will first have a getHeart function. So this will create, we will create another method called getHeart, and what getHeart will do is it will get the number of hearts that it'll have to make from the HTML data attribute. So what jQuery is phenomenal at is navigating around that DOM, that HTML document, as it were, and taking values and appending things onto it and changing it. And so that's what we're going to be using. So we are going to get that data attribute and then return a value to find out how many hearts we want to put into our front end. And then what we're going to do is we're going to loop round that number, and then for each heart that we want to create, we're going to add a little box in front of the widget, and that little box will be edited using CSS to look like a heart. So we're going to be adding these little boxes in front of our widget front end, and we're going to make them random. So they're going to be randomly sized. So we're going to create a new function that gives us random numbers for us to use. So like the size of the heart, this will be random. The position, that will be random, and the delayed animation will be random. So that is all the code that we use to create that widget front end. So let's get started. Okay, so our first task is to create a jQuery function. So we want to go into the main JavaScript file, and we'll open it up, and we are going to create a jQuery function in WordPress. So this is slightly different. So in WordPress, you have to put the full name jQuery. In other website development, when you're not working with Pro Website, if you import the JavaScript, into your into your website, or the JavaScript framework into your website, all you need to do is this, and it will let the website, the browser, know that you're using that. However, because WordPress works in a different way, we have told them that we're using jQuery. So in our plugin, in our scripts down here, we have said we are adding a jQuery script. However, WordPress still wants us to use the full term for it. So we've done the first task. Now we want to get the data attribute from the HTML front end. So this is where jQuery really is really good, because it is really easy to navigate around that DOM, that HTML document. So for example, what we're doing here, again, we're using jQuery instead of the $, and we're saying, look, find the class heart in the document. So again, if we go back to our front end, and this is our front end code, it's saying, like, find this class in our documents, in our HTML document, and then get the data. So I'm using the jQuery data function here to get the data for the number heart variable and insert it into this value. So again, it's trying to find, oh, wrong one. We're trying to find this value from this class, and it's going to get this data here, and it's going to put it into this heart input value. So that was really easy. What we need to do now is, at the moment, that data is a string value, and we need to change it into a number. So what I'm going to do first, just in case something goes wrong, I'm going to just make sure that whatever goes in here, I'm going to put it all to uppercase. And then I'm going to do a switch statement that will compare the values we have. So remember, in our on our setting data, we had 3 options: few, normal, many. So basically what I've said here is, if that data that we received is few, I'm going to set this to 15. If it's normal, I'll set it to 40. If it's many, I'll set it to 70. And there shouldn't be they should be the only options. But if something goes wrong, I'm just going to say default. Let's set it to 70. And then I'm going to return those numbers. Okay, so we've made our first function here, and that gets the information from the HTML and then returns a number. So we can tick off our first 3 tasks. Okay, so let's look at task 4. So we need to create a jQuery function that is called when the document is ready. So what we can do here is we're going to use, again, we have to still say jQuery because of WordPress, and we're going to call this function so hang on one moment. So here, for example, let's just compare it. Here, the jQuery is searching for the class hearts. So it's searching through the document for hearts. In this one, it's saying get the whole document. And so when the whole document is ready, then we can implement this function. We can start this function. One other thing is the way that I've done it here, because I've added this $sign here, within this function now, the WordPress understands that when I put $, I am referring to the jQuery itself. So now I can put jQuery, normal jQuery symbols in to represent the code. For example, here, I'm calling this jQuery function here. So this one is just the same as saying this. It's saying, look, we're calling this jQuery function, and just to let you know, this is not just typical JavaScript, this is jQuery JavaScript. Okay, so this now matches up with this function. So we have done all of our tasks now. So when the document is ready, it will implement this code. This code is quite simple at the moment. All it does is it calls this function here. This function looks up the hearts within our front end. It gets the data from that class. It puts that data into a value, and then based on that value, it returns that number. So I think the important concepts that you need to know from this video are here. So if you can answer all 5 questions, or 1 to 4 is probably the main ones, I think you have a good concept of this video and what I'm trying to get across. So hopefully you've paused the video and you've answered the questions. Let's go through them. So why did we use jQuery? What are its advantages? Well, it's like JavaScript. It allows us to take things from the document so we can adapt it. However, it's a little bit more concise. It's really useful to traverse the DOM and manipulate it. So that's its primarily focus, is to try and work with the DOM, or the document object model. So you can do so much with it, and that's why we're using it. The second one, how do we tell WordPress that is a jQuery statement? Well, if we look here, this is a normal jQuery statement here in website development. So you have that $sign here to represent or to tell the browser that you're going to use that this is a jQuery statement. However, in WordPress, you do have to use the full name. But then after that, it's the same. You have the selector. So here, it's the same as here. This is my the hearts class that I've selected, and then you can do functions or callback. There are so many things that you can do. My one, I just got the data from this data attribute, but there is a lot you can do. How do we search for a class? Well, all you need to do is put that dot there and search the name of the class that you want. And how do we retrieve the HTML data? Well, we just use the keyword data. Next one, apart from data, what other methods could we add to our jQuery selector statement? Well, again, there's many out there. Here are some common event handlers. So you could do a click, you could do a change, you could do a focus or a blur or mouse over. There's a lot of things that you can do that and play around with. But hopefully now you've already got a basic idea of how it works and how we used it to create our plugin. So thank you very much. Hopefully that today's task we were able to add our jQuery code into our plugin. So that should now be working. If you think we've accomplished all of our objectives, now don't worry about this objective, that was from our last video. If you think we've accomplished the objective of making the jQuery code and you understanding it, that's good enough. If there's any way I can improve these videos, let me know. And if you're interested in knowing how we can now finish our code in jQuery and then work with CSS to make that animation, subscribe, and I'll keep you updated with my progress with this plugin. Thank you very much.